Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are investigating the Dublin Murder Squad.
The Dublin Murder Squad.
And we are actually covering chapter 11 through the end. And last episode I said chapters 1 through 11, and I messed up. So,
Okay.
Before we get into all of that, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I have been watching movies I was telling you about previously because I feel like I've just not been paying enough attention to movies. I've not been prioritizing them. I've been struggling to watch a movie, and I feel like the past several years, maybe 10, it's been just easier to fall into TV shows and binge TV shows for who knows
that.
why. But
it's easier to watch 5 episodes of a TV show where some of the scenes aren't important instead of watching a 2.5 hour movie where you're like, oh, I should focus because I'm only here for a short time.
Correct. So, I'll mention a bad movie that I watched and then a good movie that I watched. So I watched Uglies on Netflix.
You texted me about this.
I had
said,
never...
Did you read this book? Did you like this book?
I remember you had mentioned this to me a long time ago, wanting to possibly cover this movie.
And then I saw Joey King was in it, and I was like, never mind.
You tapped out.
I tapped out so hard. I loved these books growing up. Scott Westerfeld created this beautiful thing. He had an interesting take on the love triangle. Like, it was this very interesting world. And then they were like, a Joey King movie, you say, on Netflix. And I said, maybe I don't need to know.
Here's the thing, Hannah. I had no background with these books and this series at all, besides just knowing that you liked them. And I watched this movie, and I'm one of those people that hates the take that people have about something they don't like by saying the writing was bad. I do feel that the writing was bad in this. So many of the lines, I was like, this feels unnatural to say something like this. This is just bizarre that they would say something in this way.
Doesn't the movie start with her being like, this is a story about my past? And it's like, all stories are about your past.
Yes.
So funny.
The main character is incredibly unlikable. I don't know how the acting is not great either. Nobody is a very good actor in this. And I don't know who to blame it on, because I'm like, the material they're working with is just so hard to deliver that I'm like, I don't know if I can even blame these actors. They just got a poopy script. It was so bad. And
sorry, it's not funny, but it's very funny.
Even like the effects and everything, I'm like, this doesn't work for me. I just can't handle it. Like, this is supposed to be kind of an action-packed, entertaining sci-fi. I'm just so confused why this was made, and it's getting a sequel. What is happening at Netflix? These people are out of their minds if they think that this needs a sequel and that Julie and the Phantoms can go without.
I agree. Hard agree. Julie and the Phantom should have gotten 1 million seasons. Look online.
And also, like, the romance that they try to play up in this is terrible. It's just bad. I hated it so much. I did not find her initial friendship that she had with her childhood friend very interesting at all. The dynamic there was very blah. And just Joey King was so blah in this role that I just did not care about her. Her line delivery was boring and awful.
King a good actress? I can't understand. I know she's like,
I don't know. She's been a child.
Yeah, she's a child star. I just can't decide if she's actually a good actress, though.
I don't know what else I've seen her in, but I can't. I'm never going to be able to erase this from my memory.
Booth?
No, I haven't.
I have. And I can't get that time back.
Yeah, here's the thing. I already had to suffer through Uglies. There's no way that I'm going to be watching The Kissing Booth and have Jacob Elordi like scarred in my mind. Like, I already think he's a pretty good actor. I don't want him ruined for me. So there's no way I'm watching The Kissing Booth. But Uglies was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I gave it 1 star, and I
Good.
should
You
have
as you
done
should.
less.
Also, she's 26 playing like 16-year-olds. Can we put a moratorium on her doing that now? Like uh, I don't know. We're getting to the point where they're too old to be childhood stars. Stop doing that.
I really think though we need to be questioning Netflix a little more and like, can we
Do you know
not give
what
them too many projects like this? No sci-fi for them.
Do you know what terrible news I just found out? She's in Practical Magic too. This is not looking
Oh,
good. This is not
Hannah,
looking good.
this is a
I
bad omen. This is a bad omen.
Last night I
Oh
lay
my.
down next to my husband and I said, "This is the bad place."
Because of this news or just in general?
I mean in general, and like I couldn't get warm last night.
Mhm.
It's just like having a terrible time. You know how like all of your extremities are cold?
In
And
the Midwest, yes, all of your extremities are cold.
well, and
Yes.
also one of our fraternity like brothers when I was in college, he told me that women's bodies are actually colder in the extremities because all of our heat is directed towards our womb, which is really
Mhm.
rude if you come at it from someone who has infertility issues or
Mhm.
doesn't really want children. I should get warm hands. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
If I want to tap
Yeah.
out of having babies, I should get warm hands. And so
Yeah.
my husband's always like, "Why are your hands and feet so cold?" And I'm like, "The patriarchy. Actually, it's that." So like
That actually makes me even more furious.
right?
I'm
Like, we have to protect our non-existent babies, Laura. So,
uh,
and we
every time I have to
watched
go
Joey
and
King
buy
in Practical
feminine
Magic
products, I
2. Like,
just rage out.
a
But
movie
yeah,
that won't
that's
be
another.
good. We're gonna have to cover Practical Magic 2 on the podcast.
Oh
I have
my,
a feeling it's not gonna be great. It's coming out September
Hannah,
18th
I
of
already had to suffer
2026.
through Uglies.
I know. And guess what? You're gonna have
Don't
to
do
suffer
this
through
to me.
Practical Magic 2 because I'm not watching Uglies because that was a
Don't
childhood favorite.
do this to me. Oh, I love Practical Magic 1. I don't
I
think I can
know.
handle it.
Honestly, if you think about it, Hocus Pocus 2 wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. It was a movie. So we could watch a movie.
I thought that was a solid, like, okay movie. I didn't
It
think
was
that it was bad.
fine. It was a children's film.
I
Practical
mean,
Magic
yes,
2 is
but
not
also
a
the first
children's
one is a
film, but
children's film.
I know. And also, like, we all got too connected to these movies. And if
Yeah.
you watch them in a vacuum, are they actually good? Who knows? I don't want to
No,
answer
I
that
mean,
question.
absolutely not. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Lee
But
Pace is in Practical Magic 2, though.
oh man, I love
That's
him.
I
Ugh.
know. Are they gonna kill off the love interest because he's not in this movie?
Oh my gosh.
So the Sandra Bullock's love in Practical Magic 1 is not going to be in Practical Magic 2, so that man be dead. Like I'm just
Oh my.
saying. Wow. What a
Ugh.
sad what I fell on this. We didn't have to talk about this. The Uglies is a bad movie.
It was terrible. I don't want to talk about it anymore because I just thought it was so bad. I
I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm the one who brought it up and we're
I'm the one who brought
done.
it up, and I just can't handle it anymore. Like, nobody watch it. Please, everyone go on Letterboxd, tank it. Let's make sure that they do not make a sequel, even though
They're
they're going
apparently
to,
making it.
apparently, which is infuriating. You know, this was another movie, though. As I'm watching it, I'm like checking the time, like, how much is left? Oh my gosh, do I have to finish it? And because I'm a completionist, I did finish it, but I hated it every minute of it. It was awful. So
Sounds like you did.
yeah, don't watch it, people. It's so bad. It's so read the books instead, I guess. They're a lot better, Hannah says. So,
I mean, I remember them from my childhood. Again, I'm remembering through like the lens of like I ate those books up when I was in high school.
hmm
But I do remember getting into a very specific fight with a friend who has told me to name drop her on the podcast when I'm talking about her. Some of we
Okay.
rarely name drop friends, but my friend Rima is always like,
Okay.
"Why don't you actually use my name?" I'm like, "Well, because I appreciated your privacy, but apparently you do not care." But she and I had a fight over who the love interest like the person should have ended up with. And I was like, I didn't even
hmm
know you could like the other love interests. So that was my
What? We're
experience with
allowed
the
to have
books.
opinions on the romances?
Well, it was just like so obvious. Like she was like a certain love interest. I mean, I'm not saying who she ended up with, but like one of them is like pretty and like kind of
Mhm.
like into like the party lifestyle, da, 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 da. And the other one's like smart and nerdy and like I rage against the machine. And I didn't go for the smart and party one, but I didn't
Mhm.
go for the party one and the fun one, but she did. And we
Mhm.
fought about it. And I was like, I really thought like the smart one was the only option. I didn't think that this love triangle. It was like when people talk to me about Jacob versus Edward, and I'm like, there
Sure.
are no teams because Bella only wanted Edward. Why are you voting
Yeah,
for the love interest that she's like,
that
I
she
don't
didn't
care to
like.
be with that one?
She's like, I like him enough that I want him to be with my daughter. I want to keep him
I
in the orbit.
I like him enough to get jealous when other people want to be with him.
Yes. And it's because my eggs have already claimed him.
Imagine if they hadn't had sex that time and that egg would have just not existed. Think about that. Who would he have
Where would we have
imprinted
been?
on? There would have been no imprinting on a baby. So
He would have been just pining
these are
for
the
Bella
hard
without actually liking her.
hitting, these are the hard hitting questions you come to us for.
Wow. I'm questioning everything now.
Laura is now Team Jacob, so
Possibly, or just team, let's not read that again. Um, so yeah, don't watch Uglies is the moral of the story today. But
perfect.
you should watch John Candy, I Like Me on Prime Video. This is a documentary about John
Oh,
Candy's life, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm someone who grew up on John Candy movies. I grew up watching Uncle Buck all the time. I used to watch The Great Outdoors. I used to watch so many John Candy works. Like I just watched the other day, The Rescuers Down Under, and I was like, oh,
oh,
John Candy was one of the voices in this. I totally forgot about that. But there's so many things that he was in, and he worked really hard to develop his entire like catalog of movies that he was in. And he was an immensely funny and seems like according to this documentary and all the people that were close to him and everything, very dedicated to his work and to his family and to just being a kind person. It seemed like he did a lot of nice things. Unfortunately, it seemed like he had a lot of trauma that existed from the time that he was a young child. His dad died of heart issues on his birthday when he was a child. And so there was a family history of heart disease for sure. And his brother also suffered from heart issues and had a stroke on, I believe that was also around the time of his birthday. But his brother
oh,
didn't die. This was just another traumatic moment in his life. But he had a lot of like tough things happen to him and had to grow up facing a lot of adversity and then also faced a lot of really unfortunate fat phobia
hmm
and stigma as an actor and was not taken seriously and had a lot of anxiety and he suffered from a lot of panic attacks and everything throughout his career and also was very much struggling with his weight and things like that because of the way that Hollywood treated him. There's many interviews that they show in this documentary, just like short clips of them, and the interviewers often go straight for a weight related question. And you can
yeah,
feel how uncomfortable John is in these moments and how he will try to kind of make light of the question or to kind of spin it around or make it seem like he doesn't care. But you can tell that he is very bothered by not actually being asked about his work and
yeah,
what he's doing and the question being directed towards his size and it's just unfortunate that these type of things were being asked of someone who is incredibly talented and you could tell just by like I could tell just by listening to his voice in The Rescuers Down Under like the animation is not that great in that movie. It's early 90s animated movie, but you could tell by just the voice acting that he was doing like this guy could have been in some really great voice acting roles because he's putting his all into this. And it seemed like that's what he did with all of the roles that he took on was that he really gave them his all and was really trying so hard and worked incredibly hard as an actor and developed a really great career for himself in a short period of time. And it also just seemed like he really just loved his children and his wife so much. He had great friends and was always like trying to support people and he loved football and was doing all these things. So it was a really great documentary and a deeper glimpse into his life and the things that I knew about him and just interesting to like hear people talk about him that loved him and
yeah,
yeah, I just really appreciate it. And it's, again, one of those things where I think often we're far too hard on celebrities when we kind of think, like, oh, well, they've got it all. How could they not be happy and they need to just shut up about their problems. No one cares when celebrities have problems. And it's like they're people too. Like he seemed to live a fairly normal life and was trying his best to pursue a career he loved. And it was a very difficult career that really took a toll on him in terms of the amount of time he was able to spend with his family, the amount of the things that he had to do to his own body in terms of like the weight loss and weight gain, because he then felt pressured to gain weight back after he would
Hmm.
lose it and everything, because he was stigmatized as the funny fat guy. So it, there was just so many things that I thought were sad, and also I just like deeply appreciated this man for the hard work and kindness that it seemed like he really exhibited throughout his life. And I
Yeah.
just think we need to be a little bit kind. It sounds stupid to be like we need to be kinder to celebrities. I do think we just need to be kinder in general to people, because people like him, like we don't know what people are struggling with. Everyone has struggles in their lives, even celebrities. We shouldn't be commenting on the size of people or what mental health issues they're going through, et cetera, et cetera. And just maybe take a step back and recognize that just because you're watching someone on TV and you know that they have recorded in LA or Hollywood or wherever doesn't mean you know everything about their lives and can comment on certain aspects of their life or appearance, and or the appearance that you seem to take from them from their movie or from interviews or their social media. So yeah,
Well,
it
and I
was
think
a really
something
good
you
documentary.
something you mentioned is like the fixation that interviewers had on his weight. And I think about that
Yeah.
with like sexism, fatphobia, racism in the media. There seems to be like this very specific focus on things that does weigh on people, and people get sick of it. Because I think about like Scarlett Johansson, say what you will about her. I'm not a fan of her, but I do know that like on the interview press, they would be like, "So what was your weight loss routine? What was your workout routine like to fit into those clothes?" And she was asked so many times, and there's so many clips of her being like, why are the men not being asked this question? Why am I being asked
Hmm.
what I'm eating? And there like
Hmm.
are actors around her who are being like, well, for my workout, and like making jokes of it to like take the
Sure.
weight off of the fact that she is like one woman for the longest time on these
Hmm.
superhero movies, and an entire focus was on her weight, like, and how she like
Yep.
looked and what she was wearing. And like then the Captain Marvel stuff came up with Brie Larson and how she was not well
Hmm.
liked, and it was just like she was a little bit more serious than the other people, but because she was a woman, it was seen as like this very big thing. And I do think that that happens a lot with like people of color who are actors, where they're
I'm not gonna
asked
lie, it
like,
was bizarre to me to see some of these interviews and the way that they treated John Candy, because I'm
mhm,
not used to seeing a white man being
yeah,
treated that way in an interview. But it's because he was a
he was
larger
fat.
person.
Like, yeah, it was
That's
no, it was because he was fat. Like that's
That's
at
what
the
it
end of the
is.
day,
He was seen
like,
as less than because of that, and it was
yeah.
fixated upon. And it was the same situation that we see now when we get like sexist questions directed towards
Hmm.
women, where they're like, well, how are you balancing family life? And it's like, well, did you ask him? Because he also has a family and we're in the same movie.
The
Like,
assumption is always that like a woman is definitely failing at
mhm,
something, but a man is that's not his business. So like
right.
there
So
is so much to that.
it was very weird to me to see this white successful man who is in a ton of movies and is doing all these things, who is like owner of football
Hmm.
teams and leagues and all this stuff, and has been on all sorts of people's TVs for the longest time, be questioned in interviews about like, well, how do you feel about your size? Do you think you should slim down? And it's like, well, he's promoting a TV show. What is, or a movie? What is the point of asking that? Like, why?
Well, I'm
What
even
does that have to
looking at
do with anything?
I'm even looking at his Wikipedia, and it's kind of offensive. Like
Hmm.
it says like he struggled with it says he died at 43. You know, he's obviously young. He died of a heart attack. It goes he struggled with obesity and weighed more than 375 pounds at some points in his life. Doesn't say that it's a heart attack related to obesity. It says he had a number of risk factors for heart attack, including strong family history, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, obesity, alcohol use, and cocaine use. However, Candy was concerned about his weight. That's three times they mention
My
his weight,
thing though,
and a discussion about the fact that he smoked a pack of cigarettes a day and was an
yes,
extreme alcohol and cocaine user with a family
yes.
history. Because, like, That's like, sorry, this
So
is me getting
they
on my
describe that
high
in
horse.
the
Like,
documentary a little bit too. And they also have a little, there are some people that kind of make a little bit of the implication that it's weight related that is why he died. But it seems to me like there's got to be some sort of family connection here is the key factor in this because his dad died when he was very young. And I
right,
think his dad was like 35 when he died. And when John was a child. And the pictures that they show of his dad, like not long before he died, he is not overweight at all.
right.
He's a, what we would consider from typical standards, like a quote unquote normal size. So he doesn't seem to have any kind of obesity. His father does not. And so like the that whole we get over John got over 375 pounds at times in his life. He mentions that in an interview because they ask him in interviews, like, how much do you weigh right now? And, or like he goes on a show and he's lost weight and they'll comment, like, how much weight have you lost before they ask him about anything? And then he's got to be like, well, I mean, at one point I was over 375 pounds. So, I've lost quite a bit of weight. And so then there's like multiple mentions of like, oh yeah, he was at over 375 pounds at one point. He was over 375 pounds at one point. And it's like, but he also smoked so much. And you know
Yeah,
what is bad for you? Smoking.
smoking.
We
Well,
absolutely know that. You know what else is bad for you? Alcohol, RFK Jr. Let's not include that on the food pyramid.
right.
So,
Well, I
yeah.
also think about this as like someone whose mom, I think, died in connection to her weight loss because it was very hard on her body after she got COVID. We don't know. We didn't do
Mm-hmm.
an autopsy. So, like, take that
Mm-hmm.
for what you will. But,
Sure.
like, my mom did what she was supposed to do. She was trying to lose weight for her knee replacement surgery, and no one would put her under because of the size she was, and she got down to the weight I am now. It's still very heavy. She and I were different heights and things like that. But,
Sure.
like, there are moments in my life where like I am now the heaviest I've ever been, but also I think about like how genetics play a part because I think about like you knew me in college. How hard did I work at being as thin as I was? Because I was running 5 miles a day. I was
You
barely
were
eating.
constantly running and you ate just water foods, basically. You're just like, "Oh, I'm on all celery right now." And like, yeah, that's disgusting and also not great for you.
I was eating a Greek salad with a chicken breast for dinner, like a big Greek salad with a chicken breast, which is nothing. I would eat
Hmm.
half a sandwich for lunch. I would eat yogurt and walnuts, and that was pretty much my main food. Like that was
Hmm.
it. And sometimes I would binge 5 Special K bars, which is 500 calories. I think I was pulling like maybe 1,200 calories a day and running 5 miles a day. So like
Hmm.
that was me at my skinniest. And
The other
sometimes
thing though
like
too
that's
is
so
you're
wild.
discounting also like you were working multiple jobs and everything too on
Yep.
top of going to school. So you're getting little sleep during that period and then also exerting your body beyond that too to run all of that. So
I re
that is very stressful on your body and you would need more calories. So,
it's wild to think about like how tiny I was and how like that was still seen as fat. Like I was still seen as kind of the fat friend because I was not like rail thin in the early
mhm.
2000s. But like that those are
Genetics
things
plays
that
such a
matter.
role though, like because
Like
I know people who are, I'm a fairly tall person and I feel like people who are shorter than me, they get very hard on themselves about what they weigh and they'll like say what their weight is and it's the exact same as what I weigh. And I have never once been told, like, you're fat. And it's because our bodies are just built differently.
right.
Like, I weigh the exact same amount as that person. And I'm also just going to throw this out there. BMI is a joke. Like,
Oh, BMI is
BMI
stupid. And every
is a
time it gets
joke.
brought up, it's ridiculous. But like
Yes. So,
yeah.
like, don't come at me in the comments and be like, oh, well, if you go according to your BMI. No, BMI is a joke. So, it just is. I'm not
I'm pretty sure BMI,
entertaining
you
any
might be
arguments.
technically overweight if you like
For
gained
my
five
height,
pounds. Yeah.
probably.
They'd be like, you
But
big fatso. And it's like,
yeah,
Laura is so tiny.
it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's all just relative. I don't know that there's no one true weight that you should be
No.
trying to achieve. People should be working to just be healthy in the body
Yes.
that they were given.
Hmm. So, I feel bad for John Candy. That makes me sad because like I think
You
that
know,
there's so
it
much
is
unlearning
quite
you have to do
sad.
as a fat person, and like that's it's sad to see when he existed because he was so talented. And
It is quite sad. And as
yeah,
somebody who just like grew up loving all of his movies, like I have a copy of Uncle Buck. It's one of my favorite movies. And I'm sure I've talked about it before, how much I love that movie. But his movies really just meant a lot to me growing up and everything. And I remember watching Spaceballs and, like I said, The Great Outdoors. Like, so many of his movies were just so special to me. And just seeing him on screen really brought me a lot of joy as a child. And my family in general just loved John Candy. So seeing what he went through in this documentary was really tough. And it made me just
yeah,
feel sad that the way we treat people who are put in the limelight. And so that's why I think I was kind of getting at earlier, like, let's just be kinder to people and not assume that we know everything about them or that we can make judgments based on their size. Let's
yeah,
just not do that.
I
And
get it.
then the final thing I'm going to talk about, Hannah, is I have been watching St. Denis Medical with my husband every week. Oh my gosh, I love this freaking show. I love it so much. We've been watching it since the beginning, since it first came out, because we're now in a second season. This show is like perfectly cast. The lead actress, Allison Tolman, you would know her from Fargo. She was in Fargo, Hannah. And she is just incredibly funny. And I cannot get over how much they're like giving her character like a little room to be even funnier because I think initially she was supposed to be kind of our straight man in season one. They've given her a lot more space to kind of work her acting chops, and I'm loving it so much. Like she is hilarious. One of the more recent episodes, there was a party where uh because this follows workers at a hospital, healthcare
Yeah.
workers. And so the lead actress, Allison Tolman, she plays head charge nurse Alex on their floor at St. Denis Medical. And she and one of the other nurses attended this party where they were going to be giving Botox injections. Like, this is a Botox party. And Alex becomes obsessed with determining whether or not one of the guests at this party is above 18 and the lengths that she goes to try and figure out if this guest is over 18 can be getting Botox if they're going to be safe giving this person Botox. It's absolutely hysterical. Like, I haven't laughed so hard in a really long time. But she starts off like really quote unquote subtly trying to relate to everyone to figure out their ages by using a litmus test of yeah, I haven't laughed this hard. I haven't been this glad since they caught bin Laden. Do you remember that when they caught bin Laden? And nobody reacts. And then you have a cutaway to the other nurse that she works with who invited her to this party saying, so I didn't say that she couldn't bring up bin Laden. So I guess that's on me. And then it quickly devolves into Alex like trying to steal this woman's purse to find her ID, bringing up why she was doing it, saying that she's trying to clear up her shaving situation in her pubes, all
Oh,
of
jeez.
this. And it's just the most hysterical thing I've ever seen because Tolman can play like the most awkward and hilarious character ever. And she's just doing such a wonderful job. She was also really great in the most recent episode where they were having a like health fair for seniors, and she was trying very hard to make it informative and was really losing the crowd. And I'm just loving what they're doing with this character of Alex. I think she's just hysterical. This show is fantastic. If you really like Parks
Good.
and Rec or The Office, I think this is such a perfect show for you because it's a mockumentary and all of the characters are just really, really fun. And Sandra from Superstore is in this.
Oh,
Also,
good.
the pharmacist from Superstore is in this. He
I
plays
remember him. Yeah.
Bruce. He's one of the ER doctors. He is very funny as well. Also, Mecky Leeper, is that his name? I think you know him from another show. I'm trying to remember what his name. Yeah, Mickey Leaper or Mickey Leaper. He is one of the characters in this. I knew him from Jury Duty, but he plays Matt, one of the nurses in the show. He's very funny. David Allen Greer is in this. It's
Oh, David Allen Greer.
a
Oh yeah,
perfect
Becky
cast.
Leaper. Sorry, from Sex
Mickey
Lives of
Leaper,
College
yes,
Girls. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I recognized him from Jury Duty, but he's very funny in this as well. He plays like a farm boy from, you're assuming a Mormon family who, who moves to this area and leaves behind his child bride that he was betrothed to or whatever.
Oh, good.
Not a child bride. They were both children, I guess. They grew up together, that type of thing. But yeah, it's a hilarious situation that, yeah, the whole show is just so funny. I love it so much, but especially Alex, the main character. I love her. Like, I just want to be her best friend. She's so funny and just such a talented actress. And then when I was like creeping on her, I was like, oh man, she's been nominated for so many awards and everything. It totally makes sense now. And I feel like she's slumming it being on St. Denis Medical. But yeah, I've been really enjoying that. Hannah, I've talked forever. What have you been reading, watching, and or enjoying?
It's okay. You're killing it with the like watching and enjoying portion
Mhm.
because I have not been doing much other than starting over Silksong to see if I could beat
Oh,
it in
yay.
under 10 hours.
You know
And
what? I kind of want you to record this.
I know you do. I have to figure
I
out a
want
way
you,
because I just played on the TV.
yeah, I want
Um,
you to like record your sessions and like put them up. I would really like that would be cool YouTube content for us.
I would need to figure out how to like screen record our TV and have like a video of me going online as I like get deeper and deeper into the couch.
You know what?
Um,
If 13-year-olds can figure it out, surely we can.
uh, at what point do we become the old people who don't understand technology? I don't want to answer that
I mean,
question.
probably already
Um,
there.
but yeah, so I restarted Silksong to see how fast I could do. I just beat one of the like big bads and got into Act 2 because it's almost like a play in a couple different parts.
Hmm.
And I'm at hour 8, so I don't think I'll beat it in 10 hours. So there are speedrunners who play this game. I think right now the fastest it's been done is like 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is insane if you think about it. Like
Okay.
speedrunners are a different breed because you have to be willing to like get an hour in and be like, it's not happening. I have to start over at the beginning. Wild.
Okay.
Couldn't be me because like I have gotten to one where I'm 14 hours in, but I'm just like it's not hitting correctly. So that's why I started over again to like get myself back up and like
Hmm.
back to my fighting power. Um but yeah, so I've been playing Silksong, but I also just started a new game today and actually had to pause to record. And my sister-in-law was very upset
Oh
because
no.
she likes watching people play video games because she is a little sister as well. It's called Mio Memories in Orbit. It just came out in
Hmm.
2026, and it's supposed to be kind of like it's very beautiful. You're on this planet and you're being told like everything's kind of dead and you're running into these robots who don't know what's going on. You're a robot, you fight things with your hair, like with your cable hair, by hitting
Okay.
it with, but like, yeah, it's just really well done and very beautiful. So I am definitely
Cable
having a
hair
good,
sounds like an ASMR thing. Like
it's
there are
very,
multiple like I'm giving you a glass haircut and you have glass hair and it's very tingly.
but yeah, so I've been playing that. I'm only like 10 minutes in, but I'm interested to
Hmm.
see where it goes because it is very, very pretty so far. And I'm just like what I like watching the style and like learning about a new world because we really don't know what's going on. There are certain things that
Sure.
I don't understand what they are, but they're above me and I have to figure it out. So
Is this
keep you
a
guys
DS game or is this a PC game?
this is one that I think there should be a like a computer version because you can play it on
Okay.
Steam, which is a but I play it on Switch. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, I'm having a good time with that. If anyone's played Mio, please come talk to me about it in
Reach out.
Discord. Because I'd love to talk to people about it. So
I love your
that's
video game journey.
I know, I just keep getting deeper and deeper and more obsessed. So, but for reading, I read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E.
Oh,
Schwab.
how was it?
It was good. I really like V.E. Schwab. I think she's very
Hmm.
atmospheric and I think she writes like She writes a lot of like mainstream fantasy that's very well written, and it's nice to read that kind of fantasy that is not written by a white man.
Hmm.
Like,
I'm
um,
asking because I started working at a library recently. This book has been checked out a lot.
it's it's everywhere. I put it on a Libby, and I was really shocked how fast I got the hold. I listened to
Hmm.
the audiobook. Um, And some small spoilers for this book. It is another book that I started reading this year in 2026 and said, "Ooh, it's a vampire novel." Because I didn't realize it before I started it. Hannah just said,
Well,
lots of
count
people
me
are reading
out.
this. I know. I will say it's a very interesting vampire novel that I would say is similar to um Dracula, which you enjoyed, of
Hmm.
like
The
it's
OG.
more,
Hmm.
yeah, it is more sexy. Like there's lots of like queer sex going on.
Hmm.
Um, we have like different timelines where you have like 1532 Santo Domingo, this girl who like wants to escape her she wants so much more than this provincial life, and she
Ah,
like catapults herself into a situation where she like gets married because it's the only way you can gain some semblance of independence,
status. Hmm.
and she finds out that it's not as independent as she thought it was.
Mm.
And so then she decides, to, and again, slight spoilers, she decides to kind of go into the vampire world. And I think it's interesting watching a woman become a vampire during this time period because she has to navigate certain
Hmm.
things in a little different way. And so I did like that. Then you kind of have 2019 in like, and I was like, is it 2019? Because next year is COVID. But we have Alice who meets a beautiful stranger, and they have like uh, a very specific meaning, and then stuff happens afterwards. And
Okay.
Alice is kind of like, she's Scottish, so she moves away for college. She's at Harvard, and she's kind of like a fish out of water. And then all of these weird things start happening. So I liked the audiobook. I thought that the narrators were really good. I will say, like, it's a very enjoyable book. I've read one of V.E. Schwab's trilogies. I really like her writing style. I like her relationship building, and I like her characters because they're interesting. I did
Hmm.
feel like the book was trying to be like, you don't see this coming. And it's one of those treatments where I'm reading it and I'm like, the book only works if this is what's happening. And I
Sure.
was right. And
Yeah.
sometimes I get
Having read
annoyed.
Addie LaRue, I'm like, I feel like she's predictable.
Yes. And I do think she is kind of predictable. And I don't think that there's
It's
anything
not
wrong with that
saying
because,
that that
like,
book is, I'm not saying that book is bad. I'm just saying
again,
it's a little predictable.
reread The Wheel of Time. So much of those books are predictable. So I do feel like it's like she writes kind of a
Yes.
very specific type of fantasy that many other people write. And I enjoy them because I think they're well written, but it is predictable. And with this one specifically, I was like, this
Yeah.
only works if this is exactly what happened. And then, but I did like the ending, and I thought she kind of made a unique
Okay.
ending that I liked quite a bit. So
Okay.
I gave it 3.75 out of 5 stars. I think that that's a pretty high rating for a pretty typical fantasy for me. But lots of people like it, and you know what? I see no problem with that. So, and then on the other side of things, Laura, one of my favorite authors from 2024, came out with another book. Samantha Soto Yambo, the author
Oh,
of
okay.
Watermoon, came out
Yes.
with The Elsewhere Express this month.
That book looks gorgeous.
It's
It's beautiful. I want it so bad. And I've
um
never read her other works.
So, I mean, she is, these are all translations. So I think she's actually just coming into the American circuit recently. Like, I think Waterman was one of her first specific ones, if I'm
Hmm.
understanding her works correctly. But it looks like I'm not because it looks like these are all American versions. So
Okay.
scratch that. But I think Watermoon was one of the first ones I've seen like pushed really hard. And so I got the Elsewhere Express on NetGalley. They pushed it to me because they said you were her biggest fan about Watermoon. Um, I liked this book so much. This book made me like
Yay.
so joyful. I will say I didn't love it as much as I loved Watermoon,
Okay.
but this is like Watermoon, it was a pawn shop where you sell your regrets. Beautiful. Think you're going out for ramen and you get to leave those behind. And then she's put on this
Hmm.
wonderful journey with like folding cranes of time. This book again with the Studio Ghibli, we find a woman on a train who feels listless and she feels like she's going nowhere. And all of a sudden, she is taken onto the Elsewhere Express, a place where people go where they have no purpose. And they find their purpose
Oh,
on this train and they find pure peace just working on this train and making sure it moves forever and ever and ever. And she doesn't know what to do with this because she swears she has purpose. And then all of a sudden, a stowaway shows up and he's not supposed to be there. And all of a sudden, it's raining on the Elsewhere Express and it's never rained there. And if it does rain, it gets mold and everything could be ruined. And they have to figure out what's going on. This
I
book
love
is
it already.
this book is beautiful. It's a train, but it's not a train. They walk through lily pads, they ride on
Oh,
stars instead of taking a ladder down. They paint stars into the sky. It's they they fix
I'm gonna
things with
buy it.
songs. This book is so beautiful. It every moment I was reading, I was like, I can't believe she builds these worlds because
Oh
they
my
make
gosh.
no sense and they make all the sense in the world. It's so nice. Like there's different timelines, there's
Yeah.
different people. There are people on the train who are like, "Oh yeah, I exist in multiple different places, but I'm multiple different people because I joined the train at different parts." So you know like there's some level of existence that that still remains, but you found peace on this level. Just give it all to me. I think
Oh.
some parts were a little bit more predictable than I think Watermoon was for me. I don't think I expected some of Watermoon's turns, but maybe
Hmm.
that just means I know this author a little bit more. But I just want everyone to read these books. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And I mentioned this to like someone I was talking about how you visualize books because I don't know if I visualize books in the real world. I think mine is almost like a computer animated version where it doesn't look quite real. These
Hmm.
books only make sense if you're thinking of them like they're cartoons. Like
Okay.
this is a Studio Ghibli movie come to life in books, and I love it so much. There were so many passages I highlighted that like I was smiling the entire time. It was so beautiful. I really vibe with Samantha's work, and I think everyone should read them. So,
Well,
um,
you've sold me.
I,
I'm picking that. I'm just gonna buy it. And
just
it's a
buy it.
beautiful book that I'm like, it would look great on the shelf too.
It would
So,
look great on the. I already own Watermoon, so you can borrow it
mhm.
whenever you need to do that. Watermoon, the cover, like the paper cover on top of the hardcover, you can
Hmm.
make into a boat because that's a scene in the book. It's so good.
Oh,
It tells you how it's like, oh yeah, fold it this way, and then you made a paper boat.
well, that's precious.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna own the Elsewhere Express at some point because these books,
Yeah.
I think she's just an auto buy author for me at this point, and
Hmm.
she's so
It
dreamy. She
sounds
loves
incredibly
different
creative.
timelines. She's so creative and like, oh, and this woman like she's dealing with like she was trying to fulfill the dream of her brother. She wanted to be a
Mm,
songwriter, but now she's being a doctor for him. So it's like these real world stakes.
sure.
And the other character, the stowaway, is a painter who is going blind in the real world. So she wants to get back to
Oh,
the real world because she's convinced she has to have purpose. And he does regain his sight when he enters the train. So he's desperate to stay there because
yeah.
it's been such a hard like course of action for him. So love it. Please read it.
Okay. You
It's
sold
so
me.
good. Yeah, but
Great
I
pitch. Great pitch. You always do
Hannah
such a
was like,
better job pitching books than I do, where I'll come on and be like, huh, it's great. I love it. So much. And it's like, okay, shut up, Jimmy Fallon. Like, you can't
shut up,
describe
Jimmy
things,
Fallon.
but
It's
you do
only
such a
because
wonderful job describing books.
it's the same thing as like when I really hate a book, I have to convince you that there's a reason I hate it. When I
Hmm.
really love a book, I have to convince you there's a reason I love it. So I think about it like constantly.
Sure.
So,
I feel like I just
um,
get overwhelmed and then there's like too much pressure to like, I'm gonna do a bad job describing. And then I
whereas
do.
like I want you to know that I like it. It's like I believe you. So no, this book was so good. I enjoyed every single second of it, and I'm so glad I read it. So,
You sold
oh,
me.
all righty, but that is kind of the end of what I've been reading, watching, and or enjoying, and
Okay.
somewhat devastated by because I had to read this book. It's
Broken Harbor is rough.
I rated it 4 stars last time, and I don't know why because it's such a 5 star book.
Hmm.
Um, again, this is a book where when I was reading it, because of I was calling her Dina last time I listened to the audiobook
It's
for the second
Dinah.
half. It's Dinah. Um, because Dinah was involved, there was never a moment where I didn't think that Jenny didn't kill the kids. Like,
Okay.
it was like there was so much about mental health and stuff like that. I
The
don't
thing
think
is,
yeah.
Tana French likes to do mirroring.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so I think I'm going to just remember that moving forward. I should have clocked it immediately going into this book that when she starts to talk about a specific thing, like when she's talking about, like, oh, the answer is usually the simplest one, or she shows you a character in the lead detective's
Hmm.
life who seems to be someone that they seem very connected to and fixate on. Pay attention to that because there's going to be a similar character built into the case
Yeah.
that you need to be paying attention to.
Yes. So in the last section, we had Connor. He was arrested. He admitted to everything. And then we get a call
Hmm.
from Kieran, the company guy, who keeps calling Scorcher Kimasabe, which is very weird to hear on the audiobook. I was reading last time and I was like, it sounds weird.
He's like the IT guy,
Yeah,
correct?
he's the IT guy.
Yeah,
He's
he's
like,
like
you're
the
gonna love
Irish
me,
version of a Spencer in
Kimasabe.
something.
Yeah. But he found Pat was on wildlife message boards in June looking for answers on an animal in the house. He
Hmm.
said it's been crawling around in the ceiling. He hears it rolling. He's put out food, but nothing seems to tempt it except meat when the wife is making food in the kitchen. Um, and he won't put out poison due to the children in the house.
Hmm.
The message board kind of starts giving him advice, but then it turns into the internet, as it is wont to do, and it
Yeah.
starts devolving into like, you're a tree hippie if you don't put out poison kind of energy.
The other
Um,
thing, though, is like the people are very much feeding off of his post because he
yeah.
starts off with a very direct post and like question, and
Yes.
he continually returns to this thread with more questions and comments about his
Hmm.
situation, and you can tell that something is up here with
Yeah.
the things that he wants to do and just the way that he's writing.
But like he's very focused on like, I want to help my family. I want to save the
Mm-hmm.
kids. Like I don't want to put anyone in
Mm-hmm.
danger. They also pick up Connor's car. They're gonna send it over to Larry to go through. They said they need to pull in Fiona Rafferty because she's the only other person with the key to the house, and so she maybe knew Connor, or there's some way that she got the key to him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Quigley, our only character who crosses over every single book for some reason, comes over and starts messing with Richie and Kennedy. And we find out at the beginning of the novel, Quigley was bad-mouthing Scorcher. And Scorcher points
Mm-hmm.
out that Quigley likely knows someone, which is how he got on Murder
Yeah.
Squad because he's practically useless. Um, but makes it his mission to take down the weak, and he notes it never occurred to him why he was going after Scorcher at that time.
Mm-hmm.
O'Kelly is super happy that they caught the guy. He hints that others didn't want Scorcher on the case after Faithful Place, but he sees them getting back in action. They go over to Connor's apartment. It's a huge sty. Richie points out that his real home is Broken Harbor, where it was clean. They find
Mm-hmm.
kids' drawings, the Golden Bay Resort pen from Pat and Jenny's honeymoon, showing that Connor was in the house. Richie also has a moment that he realizes he's seen Connor before. He's Emma's godfather, and he was in a
Yeah.
photo on her bookshelf. So that means he knew Pat and Jenny before, something he lied about.
Mm-hmm.
They confirm it with the texts, and then they call Fiona to get her into Dublin Castle later that night. And she's super pissed at them, and she tells them not to talk to Jenny again. She's like, you better not
Mm-hmm.
ask her questions again.
Which
And
is
it
shady.
which is so shady. And I said, which like girl?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be better at pretending you didn't know that your sister did this.
Immediate red flag.
Immediate red flag. And then Scorcher steps outside to talk to Larry. There's tons of hair, fibers, and footprints in the car. It's a smorgasbord. Scorcher comes back in, and Richie seems like he's hiding something, but Scorcher lets it go because he thinks of partners trusting each other. And he
Hmm.
says that this is the moment he always comes back to in this case. I will note in previous novels, Tana French is very specific on like people reminiscing on the case, or, like Frank is always
Hmm.
reminiscing on the case and how it
Yeah, looking
changed and
back at
how,
moments that he
yeah.
should have done this differently or
Scorcher has like very specific moments where he's talking about his mom and Dinah, but he does not reflect on cases as much until like this and then the Quigley comments. And so I feel like it highlights it even more and makes it more poignant.
oh, for sure, because we see him being more human in these
Hmm.
moments. So the moments that he thinks harder about things are when he's being connected to people in his life.
Yeah.
And he's not just Scorcher Kennedy. It's when he's a brother or a partner or a son.
Yeah. They go back out to Broken Harbor and they call in the wildlife specialist, Tom, who's there. Scorcher can't stand that he appears to be high and has dreadlocks. They discuss what type of animal could be up there. The wildlife person seems unconvinced through all of this. Nothing
Mhm.
adds up. An otter would roll, but it wouldn't climb. A cat may scratch a lot, but it wouldn't make, but it would make noise. A mink would eat the food that Pat put out, but would also make the scratches. Tom points out that there's scratches on a beam, but that was only one beam, and it could have come from outside when they were building the house. So just everything
Mhm.
is weird. They do stop over at the Gogans again, and they meet Mr. Gogan, who Scorcher calls the brains of the operation. But he also hates the entire
He's so
family.
mean
He's
to
so mean.
Sinead.
Speaking of fatphobic,
Well,
uh,
also just like a lot of implications about their intelligence and everything
mhm,
that seem very much class-based, and I
yes.
don't like it.
I don't like it either. Richie takes on the questioning to get more out of them and plays nice with Jade and the son, saying like, "Oh, well, kids know way more than others." And
Hmm.
Scorcher is very big on like he treats them like they're human, and then at the end of the novel, he's like, he actually believes they're human. It's like Scorcher. Um,
Shocking news.
we find out from them that the builders were cheap with everything. Like there have been these problems, but they
Hmm.
also use the same key for everything. So all of the backdoor keys at these houses, most of them, you can get into another house. And Jaden was definitely doing that. And he's
Jaden
just
figured
like,
that out quickly,
and he was
and
like, yeah, I got to go explore houses. It was great. And they were like, did you break
Sinead
and
is like
enter? And he's like, no.
mortified.
Well, Sinead, like, that's the thing is, Scorcher's like, oh my gosh, she doesn't care about anything, but she does care. Like, she does care
Hmm.
about what they look like and like what they know and things like
It's a
that.
really unique balance of like she respects her neighbors and respects appearances, but at the same time does not.
Yeah.
Because while she is willing to cover up info for her neighbors to kind of quote unquote be a good neighbor, to not be dishing on people, she's listening in on them and she's making comments about,
Well, it's
well,
Frank's mom in the last book. Like,
yeah,
she wants to
Little
be in
Miss
the
Perfect
know,
thought
but
she was
like,
so
yeah,
good, that thought she was better than us, but then at the same time she's like, I'm not going to tell you any of her secrets.
it
So
does feel
it's
very Irish
interesting.
tropey in these books of like the
Hmm.
mom who
Yeah.
is the ancillary character is very much, I'm in the know, but also I respect people.
Yep.
Like, um, they advise the parents not to go to the press. And she's like, I can talk to who I want. But Scorcher is like, well, you would be hindering our investigation. And the dad's like, I'll talk to her. But then,
Hmm.
like, they,
Don't worry, I
it's
got
also
it.
really sad because Jaden starts freaking out. Like, he made a copy for Connor. They find out that
Hmm.
Connor was like, oh, you're so smart. Can I borrow your key? I just need one so I can get into a
Yeah,
house.
definitely
Um,
manipulated him.
Definitely manipulative. But he's like, did I cause this? And Richie keeps being like, you didn't do this. This would have happened anyway. Like, don't worry about it. And it is
He
a
would have
very
found a
kind
way to get
moment.
in.
Yeah. And so they go back to the house and they do discover that the key works on the Spain's home. They also talk to a few of the other neighbors. One tried to make friends with Jenny, but she was always quote unquote busy. It's a lot of reeling after finding out like someone caused this murder and them trying to comfort the neighbors when they're already in
Hmm.
this like dire strait of a neighborhood. So then Jerry calls. Dinah left her house when she ran to the store. She stole the niece's babysitting money, and she.
Hmm.
I don't. Do you ever read something and you're like, that's not a realistic line? They're like, she wrote a goodbye note in her eyeliner, and I'm like, she could have found a pen.
You know
That's
what?
just
I
that's
honestly
just a
believe it though,
detail. I
because
know, but it's just so funny. And it also says she like outlined her hand like it was waving, and I was like, how was it like little lines around the hand but they made it sound like it looked like it was a little hand
yeah,
puppet. Like
I
I
I
was
think
very
like
confused. Yeah, but that doesn't make it was just a very confusing moment for me. I was thinking about it a lot.
it kind of makes sense to me because I think even when I was reading it, I was like, Jerry herself seems a little bewildered by it all, where she's like, why would she write this in eyeliner? She wrote it in eyeliner and then traced her hand in a
Well,
weird way.
and I really liked this section because Jerry is kind of frustrated and considering their options and like how much further can we do this? Do we need to get her help? And she sounds very like downtrodden. And I think in a lot of
Hmm.
other books, like Scorcher would have been like, how dare you? This is our sister. But Scorcher has a moment where he's like, we've both been here. We've both thought about it.
Hmm.
This is just her moment. And he's like, I'm going to be there for you. I've got this. You just have to let me
Hmm.
get off work. And I did really like that section. I thought that was really
Yep.
poignant. Um, So then they have to go and talk to Fiona at the precinct. She reveals that there was a group of seven who grew up together. They kind of like start feeding this of like, oh, how, what did you guys do? Who did they hang out with when they were younger? She said that this group of seven grew apart when people went off to college and moved away. Ian was Pat's brother, a man named Mac. Both of them went into the more vapid side of the early 2000s, like the making money. You gotta like sell, sell, sell. And then there was another girl, Shona, and I said Shona gets the worst edit in this. And Ian and Mac, they were like, oh, they'll grow out of it. But Shona is a monster who texted her and like, I can't have my fiance meeting this trailer trash I grew up with. And I was like, why are women getting so mean in this book? Um, but Connor was the seventh one, and he was best friends with Pat. They both grew up without dads. They both were super close. And Fiona even dated Connor
Hmm.
for 4 months, but she ended up breaking up with him because she could tell he was in love with Jenny.
Yeah, we
This,
learned that he's got like a deep love for Jenny and was just kind of infatuated with her for the longest
yes.
time. And he's never really been able to like kind of keep a relationship too long. And there's just kind of always been this in the back of his mind that nobody was ever going to be as good as Jenny.
And I do like that they describe this as teenagers, like, because it's like, well, Pat knew what was going on. He talked to Fiona, then he went and talked to Connor, and they were fine. And then
Hmm.
Jenny came into Fiona's room and was really awkward about it and like apologized to Fiona,
Hmm.
hinting that she knew that it was her. And she said it like, I'm so sorry, it's my fault. But Fiona, of like, they never really address it. She
Sure.
denies that Jenny would ever kiss Connor or lead him on. She said, like, yeah, she liked attention. She was 18, but that didn't mean that she wasn't fully with Pat. Um,
It's very much explained that the relationship between Jenny and Pat is a very trusting and loving one where they're very
mhm.
secure in their
Yes.
relationship, that neither of them, like, they'll talk to other people and but neither of them is going to cheat on each other. They deeply love each other and they
Mhm.
don't really worry about like, uh-oh, she might be going to hook up with that guy. It's I think there's even like a moment where it's like explained that there was some guy that she danced with or something.
She danced with Mac when people were making fun of him. And
Yeah.
Pat was like, and she was like, Pat just loved her more because she was doing that to make their friend
Hmm.
feel better. So,
Yeah.
and you can also tell from Fiona, like describing all of these, she has a very specific and reasonable view of them and why they're growing apart. But she
Hmm.
also idolizes what this group used to be.
Yep.
She talks about how much Jenny and Pat loved each other, like you said. We find out that the JoJo's pin was from a summer where an ice cream shop was being forced out by a landlord, and she indicates that Pat and Jenny wouldn't have kept something like that. It was just like this pin supporting JoJo,
Hmm.
which Scorcher takes to mean Connor probably left it at the house as a gift for Jenny. Uh,
Yep.
but when they tell her that it was Connor who did it, she becomes very upset they had to that they let her go on like that. She thinks like he can't have done it, and she leaves abruptly. She's very upset.
Hmm.
Um, so they do discuss how it's unlikely she's involved because, of course, she dated Connor. She could be a suspect along with them.
Yep.
But then Kieran, the computer guy, calls. He found other posts from Pat on the wildlife sites early on. He's setting traps. He's trying to find everything he can. He's finding things in the attic that he's like collecting and keeping in a little tin pail that Scorcher originally thought was like gifts from
Hmm.
the kids. And he keeps posting on it, discussing how it keeps coming around, but whenever he runs to tell Jenny it's not there, he calls her his wife, for privacy
Hmm.
reasons. He said that his little boy hears it in the bath and he like tried to get her. He did call pest control. They found bones, but he wouldn't show them to his wife. They were already gone. Like he had the pest control person take them
Hmm.
with him, and he's getting irate in these posts of like, why would I show her the bones? Why would I worry her? There's an
He's
animal in our house.
getting pushback on the internet, which
Hmm.
is natural,
Yeah.
and he's reacting poorly, and he's continuing to react worse and worse and
Yeah.
worse as he goes along to the point where the posts become a little chaotic, where he's
Yes.
getting every now and then a reaction from someone who is trying to genuinely help him,
Hmm.
and he will respond in a way that seems inappropriate.
Yes. Someone finally says to not feed the troll, indicating that they think
Hmm.
Pat is messing with them. And my favorite section of the early 2008 book where they were like, "What's a troll?" And I was like, "Oh boy." Flash forward 20 years and it's
I
not a
mean,
pretty picture.
boomers probably wouldn't have known.
I mean, I think yeah, you're right. They said he would they like and they're like if he was real, if this was real, he would have put poison down and just left it by now.
Hmm.
Um, Richie feels like Pat seems off in these posts, that only Pat and Jack heard it is questionable. No one else is hearing it. He asked if he could potentially have imagined it, like pointing out that the
Yeah.
wildlife expert Tom didn't even want to confirm anything. Um, and Scorcher was like, "How dare you? We said we weren't going to treat him like a suspect. We were going to, like look into it, but it wasn't going to
Yeah.
be like this." Um, and they, butt heads. But he notes that Dinah has been AWOL for 4 hours, but he wants to focus on this. He's trying to be tactful, like Jenny and Pat maybe were fighting, but not that bad.
Hmm.
And why don't you believe Pat? And then
Hmm.
Scorcher gets home and Dinah's there. She got keys from Jerry. She brought over wine. He's like, she probably A, stole it, or B, bought it with Jerry's daughter's money because she
Yep.
likes when I break the law. Like she thinks it's funny.
Hmm.
She talks to him about how she wants to take care of him. She's like, no one takes care of you. He's like, my partner does. Um, but he's trying to convince her to
Which
go
is
to uh,
foreshadowing.
but he's like, I want you to go to over to Jerry's. I need sleep. I have to do this. I have to investigate this. And she starts like becoming very irate that he's still
Yes.
working on the Broken Harbor case. She's convinced that he shouldn't be doing this, that it's affecting him.
Hmm.
Um, and she starts talking to him about like, you're just as messed up as I am. And I've always been this way. You guys, for some reason, think I'm this way because of what mom did. But I always like, I remember when she was alive, like thinking that something was itchy in the bath. And like, I've always had these mental health issues. And Scorcher has this moment where he's like, no, of course you're like that because of mom, but he also feels like somewhat relieved because it's like the belief that
Hmm.
like something didn't cause this, that like
Hmm.
they were always going to have these struggles. But
Yep.
he's also like, I am not as messed up as you.
I think it's
And
more of like a you don't want to like pinpoint an event. You know what I mean? You don't
yes,
want to you want to remove that one moment and not like
and
put that focus on everything.
yes, and this is when we find out the big moment. So we know his mom committed suicide. But she took Dinah with her when she left that
Hmm.
night. He came home and he found a note from her. And in the note, it said that Dinah needed her mother. So they had to run
Hmm.
out and go searching for both women. And they looked into the sea for like 2 hours. They couldn't find
Hmm.
anyone. And then they found Dinah on the beach. She says that, this isn't why I am the way I am, but like, you need to quit this case. And Scorcher talks about how usually with Dinah he does back down, but in this instant he just can't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and she starts like it is that thing of like you're so used to getting a very specific reaction when you're acting a specific way, even with
Hmm.
mental health issues, that it starts making her devolve more, where she starts
Yep.
threatening Scorcher, saying that like he better drop this case. Like he tells her like this is not going to happen. And she says like fine, and he like has a moment where he's like, you know what? You are talking around saying you're going to commit
Hmm.
suicide. That's your choice. That will not be because of my decisions. Those are
Yep.
because of your decisions. She does not like that. She starts trying to like scream in his face to get him to hit her. And
Hmm.
Scorcher like has a reaction where he does get frustrated and he does realize
Yep.
like he does have that visceral reaction of wanting to hit her,
Hmm.
but he also knows that she's trying to do it as a means of control because if he hits her, he has to take care of her. She
Yep.
gets the power back in the situation. Um, and so he doesn't, and he's just like, I can't do this with you right now. And she
Hmm.
says that he better drop the case within 24 hours or else it will be his fault and he will regret what she does. And she
Hmm.
literally like tries to walk by him and touch him so that he stops her. It's a very heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
And he's at his wit's end because he just kind of goes to sleep. He ignores calls from Jerry. Um, and so the computer guy kind of calls him and he's like, look, I kind of found everything I can on the computer. There's nothing
Hmm.
else. But Scorcher realizes that like Pat probably was a copy paste guy, like he was just posting on the same sites. And so he finds an American post that Pat did And Pat is obviously devolving right now.
Yeah.
He talks about how Jenny thought he was going crazy, and now he can't kill the animal. He has to catch it. He has to show it to her so she knows it's real. She might take the
Because
kids.
he's
Like,
he's kept all this information secret for so
hmm
long that I think now that he's told her, he's had some feedback from people on these forums where they've said like, "Oh wow, your wife's okay with you like putting holes in the house?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's fine with it. I got a good wife, haha." And then it gets even
um,
more complicated because he is then convinced that he needs to prove to her because she doesn't believe him.
yep. Um, and so like Richie reads these with him and he's like, this is not the same person who was posting earlier. That person
Hmm.
was focused on his family. This guy is not who you think he is at this point. And
Hmm.
he's kind of convinced that it's definitely Pat. So they do go talk to Jenny about this. Um, and they find her alone. She's still on heavy meds, but they're like, what do you remember about the holes? Like, what do you remember about Monday? Like, they really
Hmm.
start pushing, and she immediately shuts down. And again, it's like the
Yeah.
most red
Red
flag stuff
flag.
where she's like, I'm just so hurt. And like, Scorcher's like, she's not that bad yet. Like, we asked her three questions.
Hmm.
Um, and she like he's like, why were all these holes in there? It looks like a war zone. And she's like, you don't know. This is ridiculous. Like, why would you be saying this? And she's obviously very upset by him bringing up the holes and bringing up, like, what was Pat doing? You said he was fixing
Hmm.
stuff up. And she's just obviously lying, where she's talking about, like, it
Yeah.
was just holes. He was trying to work on electrical work. And she's very irritated that they aren't just trusting her at face value.
Hmm.
And they did say that they they're like, we can't really go into details. We're just looking into everything. Scorcher finally realizes like they've kind of had her at her wits' end right when Richie starts getting a little bit more
Hmm.
pushy. And he's like, no, we have to leave now. They don't really
Well,
find
he
anything
mentions
else.
too, he's like, it's interesting how Richie does so well with certain people and
Mhm.
so poorly with other people, where Scorcher kind of has the same effect on almost everyone, and he is fairly effective in all of the interrogations, even though
Yes.
he's like the bad, quote unquote, bad cop in the situation. But good cop doesn't always work with
Nope.
people.
And Richie was like, I did mess up. I'm so sorry.
Hmm.
Um, and they're like, well, she is high. And Richie also kind of believes that she doesn't remember anything. And Scorcher's like, no, she's lying. She
Yeah,
knows
she.
something.
Hmm.
It's a question on if like she's sleeping with Connor and they were in on this together, or if it was something else. And he's like, we just need to get through this.
Hmm.
And so he doesn't want to go to Connor quite yet. He wants to get more ammo. And so he's like, but he's really sick of everything. He has Dinah in the head and all these different things.
Hmm.
Um,
He's really dealing with a lot, honestly.
and so he's like, I really want to yell at someone. Let's go talk to Sinead. And so he goes back to the Gogan house, and Jaden's still there. And Scorcher kind of loses it. He's like, you know something. You need to tell me. Sinead, like, I can make your life a living hell. And that's when we discover Deus Machina, baby monitors because
Hmm.
the frequencies on the monitors were getting crossed and they were able to hear in to the Spain's home. And for a
Yep.
while it was kind of normal. It was just storytelling, but then they moved them downstairs when Pat was looking for the animal and they started hearing, them watching TV and Sinead was like getting into it and listening like a nosy neighbor.
It's so funny though because she's like, I didn't hear a thing, and Jaden immediately rats her out and is like, "You listened for hours. You told me to turn off my games."
He's telling on her so often, and like she's always
Yes.
looking at him like the second they leave, you are in so much trouble.
Yep.
And he he talks about the fact that, or she talks about the fact that there was one instance where she heard Jenny come home and she was like, Daddy's gonna come back from his run, and when we do, he's going to be happy. We're all going to be happy for him. And it sounds panicked, like he could have potentially been abusive.
It sounds like an abuse situation, and this is
Mhm.
where Sinead's very much like, yeah, she thought she had us all fooled with her little American cheerleader act.
Mhm.
Haha. See how she likes it that she's actually got this situation going on. At least I don't have a husband that's beating me, blah blah blah. She thought she was better than us. It's like, ooh.
Yep. But
Rough
she didn't hear
take.
any signs of an affair. So
Mm-mm.
they leave and she like waits for them to get far away. And she's like, you can't talk to me like that. I'm gonna file a complaint. And Scorcher's like, sure, go ahead. Um, and so they keep running down other lines of inquiry. Um, but then they're ready to talk to Connor. And he's very interested in how Jenny's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're kind of like, well, we just need to know more information from you. They start talking about the fact that he was in love with her. He's like, it wasn't like that. It was just like childhood infatuations. Pat and I like got through it. It's okay. He and I were best friends. You don't understand how close we were. And they're like, you guys are so close. You guys haven't spoken in a while. And we
Mm-hmm.
find out that like when they moved out to Broken Harbor, Connor couldn't support them. He saw it kind of for what it was. That was like a get rich quick scheme, like it was a
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme. He told them not to do it, just to walk away. And Jenny kind of shut down and she was like,
Mm-hmm.
you're very negative about our family. We want to raise our children. This is our decision. How dare you? And Pat kind of jumps on board with supporting her.
Yeah,
And
it's very much a situation where Jenny's very concerned about appearances,
mhm,
which is reiterated again in this moment to us that she's concerned about appearances, and then we get again that he is so Pat is so supportive.
mhm. And so he kind of is like, and after that, we just kind of lost touch. And then when everything started going down the drains, I didn't know how to reach back out to them. And it was just
Yeah.
very difficult. Um,
Hmm.
but every time they talk about Pat, he gets very defensive and he's like, he wasn't crazy, da da da. Like he loved Pet Jenny. You don't understand them. And he
Yeah,
admits
he
to
has this
bringing,
immense loyalty to Pat as well.
yep. And he just says like Pat wasn't like other people. He was just so amazing. But he does admit that he wanted to give, like he knew that they were struggling with everything.
Hmm.
And so he was the one who brought the JoJo pin in because he wanted them to know that he wanted Jenny
He
specifically to
wanted
know
Jenny to
that he
have
was
a
thinking of
happy
her.
moment.
Yes. And he was the one, like he ate ham out of their fridge, which Jenny was neurotic about, and he stole the pen, and all these things were happening that he
He's going
was
in
the
their
cause
house and
of.
like enjoying sandwiches and like having tea and stuff like that. And then he's taking a nap on their bed and going in the
Hmm.
kids' rooms and stuff. Just kind of like
It's really creepy.
weird. It's really
Like,
creepy.
it's really creepy.
And
Two things can be true. He could not have murdered them, and he's
mhm.
being a stalker at this
But
point.
the way that he like makes it sound like it's not a big deal. I washed my glasses. She didn't even know I was there. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, she very much knew that you were there, just
Yeah.
didn't know what was happening.
And so they kind of talk about like there was an animal trap that had a baited mouse that like went out of existence. They're like, well, maybe Connor did
Mhm.
it. Maybe they were working together to like make Pat crazy because they were having
Mhm.
this affair, but it all just doesn't seem
It
to be
doesn't make
adding up.
sense.
Um, and so he and Richie are getting into it where there is kind of that come to Jesus moment of like, why are we both against these people?
Hmm.
Um, and one of us thinks that there's too easy of an answer and this is ridiculous. So, um, he then goes they do ask one final question from Connor after they go into all of these things. And they ask like what happened with the kids upstairs and Connor doesn't really have an answer.
Right.
So that's not great.
Hmm.
And but Scorcher also has a moment where he like goes hard on Connor of like, you were banging her, weren't you? You guys were doing all this stuff. And
He's
Connor's
pushing
like,
so hard because he wants to believe
mm-hmm,
that it's Connor, and he's just pushing and pushing and pushing him to, and he's also under an immense amount of stress and
yes.
things in his personal life too. So he obviously crosses lines
Mm-hmm.
and does a bad thing.
Yep. And Richie at least gets him out of the build, like
Yes.
the room before
Before
he
he
does
can have
something
a
too
physical
bad.
altercation with this man.
And Connor is kind of like, just tell me what I need to sign off on, and I will admit
Mhm.
it. And so he goes home. He has like a weird dream that night. He's kind of losing a step,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But he goes into the precinct on Saturday, and Quigley is waiting for him on the stair steps. And Quigley starts trying to needle him because he thinks that Scorcher is in a relationship with Dinah, because she came
Because,
in
yep.
and he knows that, and she came in to like talk to Scorcher, and she had evidence with her on the case.
Mm-hmm.
And Scorcher sees it in Quigley's hand and he calls Quigley out on it. He's like, "You threatened her. You said you were gonna arrest her." And he's like concerned because he doesn't know where Dinah is at this point, and he knows like this would have sent her over the edge. And Quigley's being very rude about Dinah. He's
Mm-hmm.
being awful. And
He's implying that she's a sex worker and
yes, and like,
like a
"Oh, I
lot
bet
of
you
things about
liked
her
her." Yeah. Uh
inappropriate question or not questions, inappropriate comments about her mental
mhm.
health and state.
But the evidence is a fingernail and it has the handwriting of Richie on it. And it looks like it
Yes.
came from Jenny. And it says that it came from Connor's apartment because he did bag it
Mm-hmm.
correctly. And Quigley also recognizes that it's Richie's handwriting. And so Quigley tries to blackmail Scorcher into being like, "Well,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to be your partner," kind of. He's like hinting at it. He won't say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But Scorcher is like, "You're a terrible police officer, and I wouldn't work with you
Yeah.
if, like, I wouldn't negotiate with you if you had a bomb strapped to your chest." And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Fine, I'm going to tell on your partner." And he's like, "Okay, he's an adult. He can work for himself. I didn't need that evidence." But he knows, like, now the evidence is useless. Like, it just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. Um, and so he leaves. He's very upset and he goes straight to Richie and he's like, "We need to walk out of this room. We need to talk about this." And uh, so he confronts Richie with the evidence, and we find out that Dinah had gone to Richie's house that night, saying she
Likely
was,
followed him home from work.
and insisted on coming in, said she was a friend of Scorcher's, that she was worried about him.
Just so
She tells,
concerned that this case was tearing him apart and somebody needed to
it's
take care of him.
it's so sad that like Scorcher's been such a good brother. She's doing this right now. And
I
like
know
I understand like she needs
she
help, but
needs
like
help.
it is so sad to like
The
read
other
this
thing,
section.
too, that I
Um
find little bit sad in this situation is that Curran actually does care about Scorcher and wants to
yes.
be a good partner, too. And so he
Richie
immediately
is a
takes
good
Dinah at her
person.
word.
He's a terrible police officer. That's the
Yes.
problem. And
And
yeah.
not good at judging characters, honestly. Like, not good at judging characters. Like, say what you will about Scorcher, like, he doesn't always take the best method with things.
No.
He does seem to be a fairly good judge of character.
And I also like wonder because we have read sections with Dinah. Some of her stuff is incomprehensible. And so part of me
Hmm.
is like, Rishi definitely had the rose-colored glasses of pretty girl because like
Yeah.
because Scorcher calls him out on that of like,
Hmm.
you know she sounded not well. What were you
Yep.
thinking? Because she tells Richie everything, like everything
Yeah.
about Scorcher's mom, everything about Broken Harbor. She says like this is why he's so affected by this, which like Scorcher out
Everything
of
except that they are siblings.
yes. And Scorcher asks, like, "Did you sleep with her?" And it's obvious he did. And he's like, "It
Hmm.
wasn't like that." Like, and Scorcher's like, "No, she was obviously unwell, and you did that with someone. Like, how could you?"
And she apparently like broke down and was crying, and he went to comfort
Yes.
her, and things escalated. But it's incredibly inappropriate.
Yeah. And he's like, "You saw her." He's like, "I thought you guys were friends." Um, and that is one of the parts where I'm like, "Oh, Richie is just like not on good ground there."
No.
But he found the
But he's also,
fingernail.
not to excuse him, I'm not excusing this situation because Curran is really bad in this situation, but
Yeah.
Richie is so young and
Yes.
such a naive person
Well, and
where
again,
he
I
just wants to help people, wants to assume the best for everyone, and it doesn't work in his favor.
this is a section where I quickly asked myself, like, do I side with Richie on the let's let Jenny do what Jenny needs to do?
Ah.
Like, it's such a hard, like, I think this is a beautiful, poignant moment because both sides you see
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. Like, you
Yeah.
understand where each one of them is coming from and why they
Where
each did what they did. Like,
where
uh,
Richie knows what has happened and he doesn't see the benefit of
making a
Jenny
woman suffer.
being, yeah, put into prison and suffering.
Because what he realized when he found the fingernail in Connor's apartment is it had to have been Jenny who committed the murders.
Hmm.
Um, because she had to have had struggles with Connor when he was in the room, but it didn't make
Hmm.
sense that like she wouldn't have admitted it or and the fact that like yes, the fingernail fell off, but there was no
There's
sign of
fibers
blood or anything. Yes, and there was fibers in it. So
from the pillows.
from the pillows. You are correct, that as well. And so he kind of was like, Jenny has already suffered enough. She knows that she killed her children, and it's obvious that she was trying to commit suicide afterwards.
Hmm.
So why would we make her suffer more by arresting her at this point?
Hmm.
And he said that he
He also like
understood.
kind of implies too, like who benefits from this because we're gonna have to pay more for it and
Mhm.
everything. Like the system
And
doesn't help the system to do this and all this. And it's like, oh, there are points to be made here.
and he talks about like you're only going to hurt her family more if this
Hmm.
comes out. There's just so much to it that he's like, I just don't think that this is worth it. And I just wanted to get it so Connor didn't go to jail as well. And Scorcher points out, like, well, the fingernails on him, so he was obviously involved somehow.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, but like, probably not as much as we think he was. He doesn't know what happened to the kids. And this is the part where I'm very sad because Richie is like, I understand what you said about Pat and how this would ruin his name forever. But at the same time, he's already dead. And I was like, oh, but that does
Hmm.
stick with a person's name. Like that would have,
Yeah.
and that does matter to family. Like it would have mattered to
Hmm.
Ian, which is also why you don't want Jenny to suffer. It's a very
Yeah.
big, like complicated thing. So they do fight about it. Scorcher's like, you're off the case. You have to go home. You can't touch any of this anymore.
Hmm.
And Richie was like, but I did also care about what was going on with you. And he's like, I'm fine. My problem is my sister. Which honestly, if you're reading this book, there are very times where I'm like, Scorcher seems affected by being at the place where his mom committed suicide. I'm like, most of his problem is I have to take care of my sister, and there's so much pressure on me right
I'm
now.
not
Like,
gonna lie. There are a lot of cases to be made for Scorcher being like extremely traumatized. However,
yes.
he does seem to handle his trauma really well
Yes, that's
in a
throughout
way.
this book. I do remember thinking, even on my first read, like he actually seems fine. Why are we
I
all being like
know.
Scorchers unhinged? And I'm like, he does seem too close to Pat. But from the second I read it, I was like, people thought his dad did it, and like that is what we find out is everyone thought that his
Yeah.
dad killed his mother because she was very happy and then she was very sad, and they thought she was a battered woman, and
Hmm.
like. So yes, he was coming with a preconceived notion of I don't want to just jump to the dad did it, which
Hmm.
he is assisted by being right, because if he wasn't right,
Yeah.
he's going way too hard in the other direction, but like he seems fine overall.
Yeah, I was
Um
gonna say it does seem like a situation where this is someone who seems to be processing things okay. He
yeah.
doesn't seem to be, I mean, he is affected by his past, but in a way that he seems to be handling.
Yeah. And so he ends up going to the hospital and he talks to Jenny alone, and you can tell Fiona kind of knows what happened because she doesn't want
Yeah.
him to talk to him alone. But he tells Jenny pretty much like, I haven't read you your rights. None of this is usable. So why don't you just admit what
Yep.
happened? And that's when the story comes out. So,
Hmm.
as Laura said, Jenny very much cares about appearances. And Pat seemed to be doing fine, but then something was happening as he kept being unemployed. A lot of pressure was building on him. And she actually thought he might be having an affair. And she starts talking to him, and he admits to her, like, there's an animal in the house. And she has a moment where she's not sure she believes him, but she feels very relieved that
Hmm.
this is what's going on. But she doesn't want the kids involved. She doesn't want them scared. And then he brings it up in front of them. And then he
Hmm.
wants them to help search for it. And she's like, I don't want them to help search for it. And then
He starts to
he's,
become very much obsessed with the animal,
yes.
though. Once he confesses to her that that's what's going on, she
Hmm.
has a relief, but then that relief quickly subsides because he absorbs everyone in it.
Yes. And then he brings Jack into it. And instead of like, and this is again where it's like, well, someone with mental health struggles, like you don't know what to do in this moment. And this is,
Hmm.
I think, where Laura texted me, was there a carbon monoxide leak? And we don't know. But
So
like,
I'm
uh,
honestly sticking with this
I
because
think it's a good theory.
it it's never brought up, but I texted you this as I was like getting close to the end because I was like, is there a carbon monoxide leak in this house because we're told that it's poorly built, that it's
Mm-hmm.
not a great structure. The builders skimped on everything. And so I was questioning that because I'm like, we learned that he starts to become obsessed over this. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was initially thinking, oh my gosh, is he? And we know that she was getting like headaches and everything. Jenny
Yes.
was. So I'm like, is this a carbon monoxide leak that
I
occurred,
think that's a good theory. I think you're
causing
right.
him to have issues, obsessing over an animal that wasn't there? And
Yeah,
then she, in turn, became very much entrenched in what was happening to her and
right.
leads to this. Oh, keep going, Hannah.
And so And so Jack starts talking about the animal in front of friends. And again, Jenny's like, need to be perfect, freaks her out. She doesn't want people knowing that
Hmm.
Pat has become fixated on this. So she pulls Jack out of school. She talks to Emma, and they both agree that the animal isn't real. And so Emma continues to go to school. She tells her not to tell anyone about this. And Pat just becomes more and more obsessed, putting holes in their wall,
Jenny
doing
even
all the.
mentions in like this sad moment that the only normalcy that she had in her life was picking Emma up from school because the teacher would ask about how she's doing, or like she felt like a normal mom, like one of the other
Right.
moms, and that people treated her normally, and it wasn't a situation where they knew they thought everything was fine at home. They didn't know that her husband was putting holes in the walls searching for some
Mhm.
animal.
And she has a moment where she's like lying to her sister about Jack still being in preschool. She like there's so many cards she's putting up on into this tower
Hmm.
that are about to fall. And she just wants like everything to kind of go back to normal. And then there's a night where Emma starts talking to her and she says like, "Mommy, I see the monster. I see Daddy's animal. I tried not to because you told me not to, but I couldn't help it."
And we
And
learned that she drew the animal at school.
yes. And Jenny also starts you're right. She started having headaches and she said there were fugue states where she wouldn't remember like washing her
Hmm.
hair or she would lose pieces of herself and like the pen went missing, the ham went missing, and she started
Hmm.
questioning her own sanity. So when Emma does this, and then that day was the day that the JoJo pin was left there and she thinks that she did it herself because Pat would
She
have mentioned it to her.
Well, she thought it was a romantic gesture at first from
Yeah.
him, and she was kind of thrilled, which is so heartbreaking because they were really struggling with their marriage, and she was thinking that it was the kind of thing that he would have done. He would have done a nice thing and gotten her this pin to remind her, like,
Hmm.
hey, remember when we used to go there? And of course, this is not the situation. And then she starts to again question what is happening.
Hmm. And so she has this moment where she just breaks and she thinks the only answer is to just find a better place for the family.
Yeah.
And so she goes and she does
She
murder.
needs to get them out of there, is what she says.
Yes. And she ends up killing Emma and Jack. And then she goes downstairs to talk to Pat about it. And she just starts telling him, like, we need to leave. We need to leave. We need to be with the kids.
Hmm.
And she has a moment where she kind of sees the Pat she knows and she realizes he knows what she did. And they start struggling and fighting. And
Well, she
when she,
stabs
she
him,
stabs him.
and
Yeah.
he like kind of comes back to the Pat
Hmm.
that she's before the animal.
Yeah.
And she has this moment where she's like, oh my gosh, why couldn't you have come back sooner? And
Hmm.
again, this is why I'm kind of sticking with my carbon monoxide theory because I feel like it makes
I think
sense
you're
as
right.
to it's never mentioned, but it's my theory that I'm sticking with because it just makes sense as
It
to
does.
Pat's involvement with this animal and everything.
No, I think you're 100% right. And so she does stab Pat. There's a struggle. And then she tries to stab herself. And
Doesn't do a good job.
and then he says, and at this point, he does tell her that they arrested Connor. And so she finds out that Connor walked in, or Scorcher finds out Connor walked in, and he's kind of like, what happened? Like, what did you do? And she
It
begs him to kill her because of what she's done. And he understands what happened to the children. And so he does
mhm.
help her. Um, and so she kind of has a moment where she's like, see, so you can't arrest Connor. Everything's going to be
I
fine.
told him to
Like,
do this.
mhm. And he's kind of like, saying it's okay is not okay. You were still assaulted. Like this,
Just
what?
because you give someone permission to help with this doesn't mean that it's okay to stab people.
And he also tells her like you
He's an
can't do
accessory.
this. Like you can't. you have to take accountability. We arrested Connor and I could like arrest
We
him.
could have put
We
a
would
man
win at
away who
trial.
was not, yeah.
And he's like, it's not really up to me. And she's like, yes, it is. You know it is. And he's like, yeah, she's right. I did love that part where he's like, yeah, she called me out on it. Like, it's like, and so she gets tired and she goes to bed. And he walks out and Fiona knows, like she knew the
Hmm.
entire time. And she's kind of on her sister's side as well of like she deserves to get off. And he's like, she's gonna commit suicide the
There's
second
a lot of
she like
empathy here for her sibling,
yeah,
and she admits that, she knew about it, and also that there were many times in her life that she kind of wished a bad thing would happen to Jenny.
yeah,
And now that it's happened, that she has seen the way that things have devolved and everything, she realizes she didn't really want that bad thing to happen. And that she wants to just protect her sister, which is, again, a foil to Scorcher and his sister wanting
yeah.
to protect and care for that sibling.
Well, and he kind of plays off Fiona's fears of like, if Connor goes to
Mhm.
prison, he will be a child murderer. He will not be treated well.
Yep.
But Jenny wants to commit suicide, and she is going to the second she gets the opportunity to. She wants to be with her family. She's like, don't worry, we'll watch her. We'll get help. She's not going to get
She's like,
help in
me and my mom,
prison.
we'll do it. We'll do it.
And again, this is where I'm like, no one's right in this situation because the situation is just awful. Because Scorcher's like, you can't watch her the entire time. This is the best option. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, is it like, obviously she will go to a mental health facility, I believe,
Hmm.
but like at the same
Hmm.
time, I'm like, it's heartbreaking because they're just kind of talking about it in very stark, like prison or not prison. And I'm like, it feels like that's not quite accurate, but
It's also
like,
so heartbreaking from the standpoint of Scorcher having to be the one that is like having this argument with Fiona as
mhm,
someone who is dealing all the time with a sibling that he is trying to care for and
yeah,
trying to do his best with his other family member, Jerry, to try and keep her in a safe state.
yes. And so he does convince her that Jenny really needs help at the end of the day. And they can't use the evidence that was tainted by Dinah.
Yep.
And he can't use the confession. So they have, and she goes, well, then we need evidence. And this is the breaking of Scorcher because he decides that he has to plant something.
Yep.
Um, and they end up talking it through and colluding on getting a charm bracelet with hairs in the charm that show that like her daughter's hair was pulled out on her bracelet and
Hmm.
fell off of her. And Fiona picked it up and didn't even think that it was anything. She was just trying to be nice and it fell into her coat pocket. And then she hands
Hmm.
it over to Scorcher so that that line of the chain of command is like not broken or
Yeah.
chain of evidence. So they go through the entire practice because Scorcher's like, you have to go through it so that you remember it. And they drive out to the house, and Scorcher packs a bunch of clothes so that the neighbor will watch. And he
Hmm.
slips her the jewelry and she hands it back to him. They go through the entire story. Um, and he kind of drops her off and he goes to take it in to O'Kelly. And it's very
Hmm.
sad. And so he takes it to O'Kelly.
And
He
resigns.
and he resigns and he tells him about Richie and he comes clean about
Hmm.
everything and he does tell O'Kelly that it's his
About his
sister.
sister.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And O'Kelly's kind of like, wow, Quigley is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, um
Let me guess. The next book is about Quigley.
no, it's not. We're back to Stephen from the book before and Frank. So,
Okay, I
um,
like Frank.
but he does resign because he realizes that he's gone too far this time. He knows he did the right thing in his
Hmm.
own head, but he can't come back from this. And O'Kelly does say, like, I believe you're a good police officer. I believe you can come back. Like, yes, I could have like run you through the cleaners and Richie's out, but like we could do this. And he just doesn't have it in him. So he goes and he looks for Dinah until after midnight and he goes back home. And then in the wee hours of the morning, she comes back to his house and she climbs into bed with him. And he has a moment where he thinks about when she chose to live on that night with their mother,
Hmm.
and how he never asked. And he thinks if he did ask in that moment, she would have answered. And they just kind of lay still. And he just
Hmm.
waits for the dawn with her. And it's a very bittersweet moment and a very sad
It's so
goodbye to
beautiful,
Scorcher.
though.
Like, this is a very heartbreaking book. So
You remember the last book when I was like, oh, I don't really care about Scorcher. I care so deeply about Scorcher now.
I forgot that I cared about Scorcher until I mean, this was, I think I kept saying this was my least favorite book, and now I read it and I'm like, what was I talking about? This book is
It's
amazing.
so good.
I needed to be less of a sociopath 6 years ago and like
I don't know
less of
what you were reading, but I adored this.
I know this is such a, I mean, I rated it at 4 stars. This is me again. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I'm always harsher in retrospect. Um, but
If
we can
this was one
actually,
of the books that like got you back into reading, though, I feel like when you first get back into reading, you're like, I have to be a tough critic because I am a book critic.
I'm a, I can actually read my review. We can read that next week together.
Yes, let's.
Okay, perfect. I will read my entire review next week, everyone.
From
So
10 years ago.
from from 10 whole years ago and on June 23rd of 2020.
Okay,
Um,
only 6 years ago, but still.
but anyway, I can't wait to talk next week about the themes and characters of this
Yeah.
book.
What a
What a
beautiful
lovely
book.
um and
Tana
yeah,
French, we love you.
Tana French, thank you so much. You are always welcome on the podcast. Um,
Yes.
and thank you all for listening. Please make sure
Hmm.
that you are rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Rating, reviewing, and subscribing is huge.
It really helps.
It would mean so much to us, or tell a friend to listen to us as well. Also, back up this year is our Patreon. We've revamped
Mhm.
it, as I stated. We now have we did revamp it as we released it. Now we have two tiers for right now. We have a casual
Mhm.
listener at $1 a month just to help us, keep things running. You get a print of a bookmark on the podcast. And then we have the $3 tier, which is a bonus episode a month. So
Mhm.
sign up for that. That would be great. You can get a bonus content. We are back with Dresden Files, episode 1, Birds of
Of
a
the TV
Feather,
show.
the TV show. We're going to do the entire TV show this year. You are
Hmm.
welcome. And you can see our review of Birds of a Feather up now on the Patreon. I do believe I
Yay.
released it to both dollar and $3 to kind of give you guys a
Hmm.
little incentive to check it out.
Hmm.
But we would appreciate that. So please head on over there if you'd like to, our pod. And you can also follow us at OWWR Pod on all the social platforms that we exist on, mostly Blue Sky
Blue
and
Sky, Instagram,
Instagram.
YouTube. Also, you can go to
YouTube. Yeah,
check out our
subscribe to us on
episodes.
YouTube. We're hoping to get videos up there soon this year.
Yeah.
Once something I've
I'm
noticed,
going on
I put
vacation
my
soon, but after that, I'm going to try and focus a little more energy on trying to do that part of the
and I'm
podcast.
going to learn to lean back in my seat because things I've noticed from pulling videos from the Zoom, I sit so close to the camera. It's just my face. So I need
Okay.
you to look at my entire self. So,
Okay.
things I'm going to work on before we do video. But yeah, follow us over on YouTube and go to ourpod.com for some great content, some author
Mhm.
highlights, and all of those things. And also, hope you listened to our Adam Bassett interview
Yes.
yesterday. We were so excited to talk to
Copper
him today.
skin, oaken lungs.
Or not yesterday, last week. Sorry, we're recording a little bit ahead. So
Hmm.
thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. And, we will check you next week.
Bye,
Bye.
friends.